Hi everyone, I'm Scott Schneider. This is Stereo Niche. Hey, this week I am continuing the celebration of year one for the channel. And as part of that, I wanted to showcase one of my most favorite pieces in my collection, and that's the Harman Kardon Citation XXP Preamp. Stick around. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's coming up this week. So, as I mentioned, it is my 1 year anniversary of the channel. And as part of that, I thought I would introduce some things that were a little more unique, a little different than what I've typically been showcasing. And some of those things are parts of my collection that I sort of covet a little more than others. And as a collector, it is, I think, somewhat natural to sort of appreciate those things that are a little more rare. And certainly there are some things that you acquire that have sentimental value. Maybe it's something you had as a kid and you wanted it again. There's certainly that component of it. But I think every collector, almost all of us, I think it's pretty natural to covet those things that are the most rare. You would like to have something that no one else has. It's just part of being a collector. And for me, those pieces, and I have quite a few that are quite rare. And for me, they're a little bit more special than the thing that, you know, the receiver maybe that is very common and lots of people have it. So for those particular pieces, when I come into my room and I see those pieces, they always stick out to me a little more because in the back of my mind, I know their rarity, and that is just a little more special than that other item. And it doesn't have anything to do with sound or look or anything else or value even. It's just the fact that I'm one of the few people that have it. And this is one of the items. This is why I wanted to showcase this particular item. It was extremely expensive when it came out, and therefore by that default there were very few sold. Now they didn't plan to produce them in quantity anyway, but that makes it quite rare. On top of it, the number of preamps in this case being made, the cabinet here that it's encased in is even more rare. So you may not see another one. This may be the only video taken perhaps of one in a cabinet. I didn't actually see any videos that I can think of, but it's quite a rare unit, and for my collection, it's what I consider one of my best pieces, if you will. So this is the Harman Kardon Citation XXP. It was manufactured in the early 80s along with an amplifier, and the amplifier was also considered to be a very high quality amplifier. Now these were developed at an interesting time in Harman Kardon's history, because during this time the founder was not even the owner of the company. He actually sold it in the mid-70s to go into a political position, government position, and then later came back and rebought the company, which was quite interesting, in 1985. So this was a period where the founder was not part of the company, but yet they produced something that was quite exquisite. In essence, the company gave the engineers an open checkbook and said, go design the best system, preamp that you can design. And that's what they set off to do. And that started, I think, the engineering cycle started in 1978. So it took them a couple of years, 3 years, before they actually produced the products. So a lot of engineering effort went into it, and it was essentially to build the best they could build. And there's a white paper available online that talks through some of that, and it's interesting seeing it on literally old scanned typed copies. It's quite cool to see that. But what an interesting effort. I don't know of too many any. There are some statement pieces out there that were made over the years. Doesn't happen often. I don't think I can think of one that was a money's no object sort of scenario. But when you think of some of the sort of statement pieces, like the Pioneer TZ9, for example, was developed by the Pioneer TAD team. And that was not money's no object, but it was, let's put our collective minds together and build a superior product over everything else we've done. The Yamaha NS1000 series, similar. Let's go and be extreme in some of the materials that we can use here, and manufacture new material to come up with an outstanding speaker. Some of the companies have always had sort of I'll say higher end product lines within their offerings. The Kenwood Trio line, the Kenwood Trio Supreme 700 model, it was an exceptional unit. And so those sorts of statement pieces a lot of companies have made over the years. And in this case, this was Harman Kardon's, I think, premier moment where they just said, let's just go for the best of what we can do. And based on the media feedback that I've read from that period, it was quite successful. It became quite expensive, but in any state of reference as far as what they produced, I didn't see any detractors, to be honest. It looks like everyone was, not everyone, but most were in agreement that what they made was quite exceptional. So I think that's it for this segment. I'm gonna give you some up close shots. Take a look at, although you'll see there's not a whole lot going on here. It's very simple, but note I think you'll be able to, if you look closely and pay attention to the detail here and the quality of the materials. There's just really no cost was spared, no detail was spared in trying to make the best product. So I think there's actually, interestingly in this case, more of that is more obvious on the back side of the unit than the front side. So you'll get to see that. I hope I was able to get it nice and clear for you. So stay tuned for that, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about features and specs and things like that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the specs and things here, but I'm not going to do it like I normally do. So what I normally do is go through my sort of checklist and point system of functions and specs, and kind of give you a total and compare it to, eventually compare it to other models. But the reason I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to do it because I did that for the reason of helping perhaps folks figure out what kind of functions do they want or need in a vintage system to incorporate it into their stereo. So it worked. I think it works well for that reason. But in this case, this is not that kind of piece. This is a statement piece. It's a less is more kind of a statement piece. So for that reason, I'm just not going to. I don't think there's a whole lot of effort. It doesn't tell you much by saying that you can hook up 3 things and that's about it, because that's about all it does. And so I don't think there's much value in that. So what I thought I would do is give you a little more insight into what went into the build, what they were trying to do, and what their sort of their goals, their defined goals were in their direction that they were headed. So what I've done is taken some excerpts from the white paper that's available and put them here. I'll try not to just read them verbatim, but I think it will help everyone here understand what it takes to build that statement piece and what they considered when they were doing it. So right out of the gate, if you can find this online, if you do, I think you can call it white paper of Harman Kardon Citation XXP, and I think you'll find it. But in the introduction, it says that the Citation XXP is designed to be the purest, most accurate, high-fidelity preamplifier available today. And that was their goal. They were really going after the best, making it the best preamplifier that money could buy. And kind of interesting, and again, I'm sure it was opposite of everything they had done prior, because everything they had done prior came with a build the best you can build for this price. And that's typically their day-to-day job, I'm sure. But in this case, they were told, just build the best. Just go out there and put the best circuitry together, get the best components, everything, soup to nuts. And I think that would have been probably the most thrilling thing. It's sort of like saying shoot for the moon and being part of the moon program, and it's almost having, money was no object. Weight was an object back then, but not money. So that was, I think, quite a statement. So when they went into the actual, this white paper does break it down into sections. So there's another section about the circuit design and what they were working on and how they approached it. And so it says here that the Citation engineers set out to design the ultimate preamplifier circuitry. After much research and development, they finalized their design and concluded that with some modification, it could be used in both the phono and flat amplifier sections. So the design methodology, essentially, they could apply it to both the phono and I guess line out sections, across the board. So they put all that together, and then they potted. So each of these little areas of the preamp were put into these little modules, and they were potted inside those modules. And so they did that because they wanted to protect against contamination, but they could also provide temperature tracking. And that's great. It's wonderful. The problem, though, is that you can't replace them. Those modules were specifically engineered and designed and manufactured for this unit. So that makes parts in here unobtainium, and which is something that I'm very aware of. So every time I have set this unit up, I only connect it to a very good surge protector to make sure that, try to reduce as much risk as possible that anything could happen to it. And so much so that I've only used it a few times, and I've done it sort of on special occasions. When you're a collector, I'm trying to use my gear as much as I can, but because I have a lot of gear, I'm rotating things around. So when I get to something like this, it's sort of a very special, occasion where I'm just trying to see in my fun time, if I'm playing around, what this will work with. I mean, it's can I pair it with other things equal to it and as rare as it sometimes, and see how it sounds. So I've only done it a few times, and it's sort of that, that special period, the holidays and things like that. That's typically when I've used it. And actually, I've only used it maybe 3 times, since I've had it, which is, about 5 years now. So not something I use often. And, when I do use it, it's the same thing as, not the same exactly, but similar to thinking of, you have a rare comic book and, you don't want to just read it, because you don't want to just continue, using it that way. And I'm almost, I treat this in that sort of same thought process, that I just want to make sure that it stays in pristine condition. So it's not encased in glass, but it is set aside into a section that, is not going to get hit accidentally and, and damaged anyway. So anyway, moving on here. So as far as the materials used, I thought there were some good, there's some comments here that came out of the white paper. All electrical connections from the input to output jacks to the connecting terminals between modules are made via gold-plated surfaces. This ensures excellent electrical contact because gold is immune to the corrosion that affects conventional connectors. So, they use gold plating on all, in between each component and connecting everything, just to make sure that everything didn't have an issue, in the long run. So again, just another data point, about the quality of this particular item and how it stands out, above everything else of the day. So I think that's kind of it. It's a special piece. It's a very rare piece. It's a high quality piece, and it's to me it's quite exceptional in my collection, and wanted to share it with you guys this week. I think if you see one, you'll know that now going forward. If you see one of these, you'll know, wow, that's a very rare piece. You probably won't see one in the case though. That's kind of a unique thing, I believe, even more rare. So hope you guys appreciate that. Trying to share with you stuff that, you may not see very often or never. And so this month, trying to go a little bit, beyond and show you the extra stuff that's extra special for me anyway. So I hope you like that. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you want to make sure you don't miss the next video, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.